So my company was born out of a friendship that turned into a partnership. I was building offshore teams for a lot of the large companies in town, like Dell and Charles Schwab. They were all trying to build teams out of India at the time, which was notoriously frustrating and difficult. We were able to build a really good team. He was in India and I was here in the U.S. And we saw that we kind of figured out something that was difficult for a lot of folks to do. We also saw that small and mid-sized companies at the time weren't really taking advantage of that market. There was an opportunity for us to kind of take it on the road. That's what we did. I got it kind of wrong. I thought that good and cheap would be compelling in the marketplace, but really good is really what folks really mostly cared about. And not a lot of folks cared about cheap. If you're 20, 30% less on the budget or 50% even, if there's any kind of risk in their mind, whether it's real or perceived, it's going to not be compelling to them. So that was something at the time that it turned out to be kind of harder to sell. We probably focused less on brand recognition and more on connecting with the right people. Our approach is to be helpful, be friendly, and share things that are valuable.
All right. Hi, Ryan. How are you doing?
Hey, nice to see you, Edward. Thanks for the invite. I'm doing great.
Awesome. So, where are you calling from today again?
I'm in Austin, Texas, in my home office over here. Where are you calling in from?
I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's right. I remember
Yeah,
that.
we finally have some good weather coming in this week, so hopefully it holds for the 4th of July celebrations.
Yep. Yep. We're hot as usual.
I've heard. Well, okay, everyone. Welcome to the Imperial Arts podcast. Today's guest has helped startup scale from scrappy all the way up to Series B, without blowing budgets and without hiring the wrong dev team. Based in Austin, Ryan runs a 40-person firm that delivers high-quality AI accelerated development out of India, fully managed, super predictable, and built to feel like in-house. They've taken teams from 15 to 90 devs in a year and created a new AI native process called the document-driven development that's winning serious attention, even Microsoft MVP. If you've ever struggled with outsourcing or scaling or burning money on code that's not ready, this one's for you. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind introduction there.
Cool. Before we start, again, great to meet you. I'd like to give you some context. I am the founder of Imperial Arts. We partner mainly with B2B SaaS companies to help increase their revenue and profitability by acquiring new clients. That's why we're interviewing the leaders such as Mercedes-Benz and Cisco and a bunch of other leaders as well. And today we're proud to have Ryan to gain deeper insights into the market while providing value back in the form of this podcast. Usually takes about 30 to 40 minutes. Does that sound good to you, Ryan?
Yeah, it sounds good. I do have a hard stop in 20 minutes.
Okay, no worries at all. We'll keep it short and sweet. So let's get right into it. I understand that Buy Software provides outsourced development within the B2B SaaS space. Can you share some insights into your business and the role you play within it?
Yeah, sure. So my company was born out of a friendship that turned into a partnership between me and my co-founder. I came up in the Austin consulting arena in like 2000, say 10-ish, 2008, something like that. I was building offshore teams for a lot of the large companies in town, like Dell and Charles Schwab. And they were all trying to build teams out of India at the time, which was notoriously frustrating and difficult to do. And I wasn't crazy about the work until I met my partner. I was working for a boutique, subcontracting for a boutique Austin agency that specialized in a lot of folks who had a lot of accolades, had published books and done open source and stuff like that. Um, and then I had met my partner, and we were able to build a really good team. He was in India, and I was here in the U.S. And we saw that we kind of figured out something that was difficult for a lot of folks to do. We also saw that mid and small and mid-sized companies at the time weren't really taking advantage of that market, and so we thought there was an opportunity for us to kind of take it on the road. Um, and that's what we did, and then we just establish our core value being trying to keep things affordable and predictable. And we've been iterating on that for about 10 or so years. And I think we've gotten into a pretty good spot. When people work with us, they tend to stick with us for a number of years. Um, assuming that the smaller businesses a lot of times don't get traction. But if they if they keep getting their funding and their revenue, then we usually stick around.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you've been in business for a long time, and I'm curious, what are the current trends in the market that you're aware of? Where are the winds kind of blowing, and what are you noticing?
So I made a big mistake when I first started the company. I thought that it would be super easy to, um, like most people, you're trying to guess what your ICP is before I even really knew what that was. You're trying to guess, your product market fit. And like most companies, I got it kind of wrong. I thought that good and cheap would be compelling in the marketplace, but really, good is really what folks really mostly cared about. And not a lot of folks cared about cheap. And the easiest way to kind of validate good for a lot of folks is if it's expensive. I have a buddy who owns an agency and another software company, and he says like when he's shopping, he just buys the most expensive butter because he knows it'll be the best butter or whatever. So I think we're falling victim to that a little bit. The companies that could afford software teams, if you're 20-30% less on the budget or 50% even, uh, if there's any kind of risk in their mind, whether it's real or perceived, it's going to not be compelling to them. So that was something at the time that it turned out to be kind of harder to sell. But I'm finding that more recently, it seems like people have become a little bit more budget conscious. And that people are, especially on the value side of the fence, I find that if you can show folks that you have a track record of delivery and that you have been able to create value like a little larger than other folks, um, it seems like people care more now. Um, I see a lot of people talking about AI, and we're pretty heavily invested in it, but I'm not seeing a lot of people being very effective with it. So that's where I'm hoping that we'll see some opportunities in the near future. um, I hear a lot of people talk about limitations that we're not experiencing when it comes to accelerating with AI. Um, and that's what my DD or documentation driven development. I'm attempting to share some notes on how we're able to move the needle with it.
Amazing. Yeah, you mentioned there that you're trying to reposition yourself, and you're offering to reach the clients that actually want good service. And yeah, we have heard correlations before between high pricing being associated with higher quality, and vice versa, low pricing being associated with lower quality.
Yeah.
When you look at the next 6 to 12 months in your business, um, is that one of the biggest opportunities for growth that you're really excited about? And if so, how are you approaching that issue, or any other potential biggest gaps that need to be fixed?
This is a good question. For me, we're trying to stick to our guns on the value play. Um, and so that's not something I'm planning on changing anytime soon. Um, but I do see that I think there's a, a lot of opportunity for us currently. We're finding in we've had a lot of success with seed to Series A folks lately. Um, it seems like we've had a lot of partnerships in that space lately, and it seems like when we have those, the founders are all kind of struggling with the same issues, and I feel like we have some good knowledge there and some good answers, and that's been really helpful for us to one meet folks and two build trust. And what we're finding is that most of the time the founders are really struggling with how much infrastructure to build. So, you get your seed funding and you've got, 2 million or 4 million or whatever you got, and you really just have a runway and you have to figure out what you're going to burn it on. Um, Obviously you're going to need a lot of money to support your go to market. The founders are going to need some money to kind of pay their bills. And then your dev costs can be pretty high. And so our what we share with people is to invest on having the most pivots you can during that time. Like, you want to invest in having the most number of wrong guesses. Like I had alluded to earlier, um, you're it's very unlikely that your first guess around what the market needs, even if you have deep experience in that market, is going to be the home run. It's not going to be if you build it, they'll come. Whether you're doing product led growth or you have more of a sales led growth, you're going to be trying to get people to use your product. You're going to be hearing feedback about, oh, if it only did this or if it was like that or whatever. And you need to be able to navigate all that stuff, but you have to make sure you don't blow out your budget um, before you get as many attempts as you can. And what we see a lot of people do is get into a heavy infrastructure bill early on, and you're doing Kubernetes with all this custom infrastructure, when really, depending on your use cases, you're probably better off if you're just doing a web app or a mobile app, doing something like Next.js with Vercel and Supabase, where you can just not spend 25% of your budget on infrastructure, which will solve problems that are Series A and Series B problems. Seed problems are all about pivots, in my opinion, and finding product market fit. And so you're gonna, the more lottery tickets you buy, the more roulette wheel spins you get, the better your chances of your numbers coming up are going to be, right? So we've that's where we're seeing a lot of value there. And then the other thing we're seeing is that a lot of times companies that are further down the road, we've been partnering with a lot of VCs and mature companies where sometimes the teams get a little bloated and a little stagnant, and they're not hungry and they don't move fast, and you're paying for like a full-time DevOps person with all this infrastructure, and you're paying for a DBA, but your app runs slow and you're only releasing 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Like, you should, if you're paying for all that stuff, you should have like a really world-class CI/CD and be releasing all the time and have really quick recovery when things go wrong. Your app should be performing really well. Or, maybe you're not paying for all that stuff and you have some of those issues. But if your app is slow and you're releasing not very often and you're paying for, all these expensive full-time people, you probably should reconsider your team a little bit.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you speak on that. I recently read a statistic since 2024 that about 50 to 60% of companies globally outsource to India. So you're in a super unique position where you have an opportunity to kind of reframe your offering. Maybe don't focus on not focusing on the price, but kind of reframe it that our teams cost less, not because they're worse, but because we've built a optimized system for delivery at scale.
Yeah.
You specifically have this branded methodology like document-driven development. So running everything through DDD with AI enhanced specifications and lean execution basically equals no surprises and no delays, which can drive costs down. And as a follow-up question to that, how important is it for you to build more strategic visibility right now. So whether that's the company branding or company positioning, or just getting your story out more clearly to ideal partners or clients, is that something you're looking into?
Yeah, that's always important. We we probably focus less on brand recognition and more on connecting with the right people by just putting just sharing. Like, our approach is to be helpful, be friendly, and share things that are valuable. So you're putting sweat equity into relationships that haven't formed yet. So we try to just learn a lot on our projects, be smart about how we're building stuff, be smart about our processes, and then share a lot about what we're doing. And just the idea is that with that thought leadership, we can connect with people and share ideas with them, and maybe they just want to do those things themselves, or maybe they need a little help, and that's been our approach for a long time. It's probably not as aggressive as it could be, um, which I don't know. Yeah, I yeah, I don't know. But as far as the brand itself, we probably are underserved there. We probably haven't invested as heavily in that as we could.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone here. We hear it all the time. Basically, every guest that comes on this podcast has a similar issue or a pain point in their company. And thank you so much for sharing that as well. But yeah, you're definitely not alone here. We hear it all the time. People always, especially founders, say that we can always do better, and that is the truth. So yeah, in your recent experience, would you say that your business development and client acquisition processes are where you want them to be, or are there still parts that feel slower or heavier than they should?
Um, I think our I think our business acquisition. I think we've hit a pretty good stride with it. I doubt that there's very many folks that are in my have the type of business I have that are just blown away with how good their funnel is. It's a very long sales cycle. It's a very difficult competitive space. It's hard to differentiate, and it's definitely definitely always something that could be improved on. Um, so we try to balance time, budget, and priorities. So that we can grow at a rate that's appropriate, to keep the company going, and but still make sure we're servicing our clients as well as we can.
So, if you don't mind me digging a little bit, what is currently your biggest frustration, and why?
You talking about on the biz dev side?
Yes.
Um,
I guess let's say if you had a magic wand that you could wave to solve
right.
with that one thing, what would it be?
It would probably be just to have a clearly defined CAC. You know, um, if you have that, you have kind of everything. Because it implies that you have a very repeatable process and that you understand. Um, if you have your CAC and your LTV, then everything else should just fall into place. Um, and we've never been able to establish a CAC.
What
Like
have you
we
tried before? What didn't work?
um the the problem is it's the number of deals you get are so small that it's hard to have a predictable CAC, because you might get 3 or 4, maybe 5 deals in a year. Um, and the attribution can be difficult and things like that. And a lot of the deals come through my personal network, just, getting out and sharing and talking to people and stuff like that, and going you said developer events and conferences and just meeting people, and uh trying to be part of the community. So that's kind of hard to kind of roll into your CAC as well. But as far as our marketing led or inbound or outbound led efforts, the CAC is really difficult to nail down.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, let me ask you this: when it comes to building or scaling teams to help drive growth, do you prefer doing most things yourself, or are you more focused on finding the right partners and systems to take things off your plate?
Uh, are you talking about on the biz dev side?
Yes.
Um, so I I've mostly outsourced. I have a SDR that works for me now. He's like a fractional kind of growth lead, and when we were first building our marketing funnel, we did outsource that. It was very expensive. It was pretty effective. I think being able to create leads and book meetings is something a lot of folks are capable of. I think being able to go from meetings to actual contracts is a little bit more challenging in our space.
Makes sense. What makes
And
it
we've
challenging?
had um not sure. We've had we've had a lot of success with getting leads in a predictable way. Our newest thing we did cost us, we spent about $900, and then we were spending, I think it was $14 a lead and like $30 a meeting or something like
Hmm.
that. Um,
Hmm.
which wasn't terrible. I mean, it's actually pretty good. And we had a number of calls come out of that were pretty good and things like that. But we probably need, I don't know, like 30 to 60 calls to get a contract. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, the success rate and conversion rates are lower. It takes a lot of calls, indeed.
Right.
I
Yeah,
understand.
it takes a lot of calls, and then a lot of times, you have to be able to figure out who's just window shopping and who's really shopping, um and some people are looking for jobs, some people are you know, just wanting to learn things, like we'll get a lot of people who aren't trying to get a job with us, but have gotten laid off at, like, say, like some big company, and they're looking for another job, and they're just trying to improve their project management skills, or their, some of the things I'm sharing on this call. They just want to learn about that stuff. So we have strategies for dealing with a lot of that stuff. We'll we'll vet and share information for people who aren't, you know, our number one fit for what I want to jump on a call and talk about, which is to try and help founders and executives, like, understand, like, strategic business decisions. Um, so that's kind of how we'll deal with that.
Makes sense. And I do know you have to jump in a couple minutes, but
Yeah.
we always like to ask at the end of the podcast, one thing we love about the leaders that we interview is that they're usually really open to solving new ways, um, or finding new ways of solving old problems. So how do you personally approach finding new strategies or partners to help drive growth in your business?
To find partners.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so partners for me usually just most of the time comes through my network. That's you know, and I honestly haven't really taken on a lot of new partners. Um, the last time I did was probably the marketing growth person, and that came in through a business coach from a network that I was involved in. Um, and that's another interesting thing is that I do a lot of networking, but I probably buy more than I sell sometimes, because, like, that's where you'll find a lot of helpful, you know, whether you're looking for a fractional CFO or whatever, you'll talk to people who've worked with them before. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that makes complete sense. Utilize your network. It is your biggest power. What do they say? Your network is your net worth or something like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Um, So
Thank
yeah, thank you so much, Ryan, for sharing these insights. I would love to have more conversations with you. I know this was a short one, but for everybody listening, make sure to check out vicesoftware.com. Fantastic outsourcing for a good price. I know people need it in here, and my network certainly are looking for people like this. So thanks again, Ryan, for doing this.
Well, thanks for having me, Edvar. I appreciate your time. Thanks for all the kind words, and I look forward to chatting in the future at some time, possibly.